legendary Margo Kidder, who, and real quick, my first question is
yes.
I actually read some very complimentary things about you in Peter Biskind's book, the Easy Riders Raging Bull. A good friend of mine is Carl Gottlieb, who does the show regularly. We were talking about that, and in that book, you were pointed out as being the social link that was somebody that everyone wanted to know and had all the parties everyone wanted to go to.
Oh, well, that's why there was me and Jenny Salt. We shared a house.
Yeah, and I mean, these are legendary parties. So my first question is when's the next one, and how do we get to it?
Well,
how do we get into it?
Actually, I just had a Canada Day party, but I live in now a town called Livingston, Montana, which is about 6,000 people in the Rocky Mountains on the Yellowstone River. It's certainly not peaceful or quiet up there. It's much more rowdy than it was in L.A. or New York, actually.
Yeah.
Was it fun? It was more than fun. I mean, he's just as good as it gets and big-hearted and smart and worked unbelievably hard, and the kind of director where everybody on the crew and the cast would have worked 24 hours a day for him. Those are very rare.
That's what you want.
What is it about him that gets that kind of dedication? Is it his personality? Is it easy? Is he easygoing? What's the deal with it?
Well, he's irresistible in terms of his personality, but he puts 150% of himself into it and believed in what we were doing and cracks jokes all day, and he just makes going to work a delight.
What was the funniest thing Terence Stamp ever did in your presence?
The funniest thing Terry did?
We're big Terence Stamp fans on the show.
Me too. He's wonderful.
What's the funniest?
I know that when I got a horrible toothache, he told me I could cure it with niacin, which is a vitamin. It's either B3 or B6. I can't remember one. It makes you go bright red and flush, and I didn't know what it was, and I took it at night before I went to bed and I took all of it, of course.
Thought you were having a heart attack?
Instead of one, I took the whole handful. And where it turned bright red and itched and burned and was ready to kill him the next morning because I had no sleep. So that wasn't exactly funny, but it was memorable.
Memorable. That's a good word.
It was wonderful, Terry.
Memorable.
Hey, was he pretty good at playing that part the first time around with all these iconic people around him like yourself, Dean Haglund? Was he didn't have a confidence issue playing the man.
He didn't have a confidence issue. He was pretty uptight at first, but then, he was one of those people who responded really well to getting famous. It gave him, he relaxed once he was famous, and it gave him a greater confidence in his own sexuality. I don't know how else to put it. So he actually really liked being famous. I hated it, and I was the big turkey at it. But so the first few months he was so serious and so earnest, and so sure he knew how to do everyone else's job better than they did, that he was a bit of a pain at first, and then he kind of grew up. And I never stopped thinking of him as a kid brother.
When he was doing everyone else's job, did you tell him, why don't you go tell that to that Marlin guy? And see what he says about that. Why don't you go tell that to that Gene guy over there and see what he has to say? I'm pretty sure Chris, he really wants your advice. Go talk to him.
Yeah. In Superman 3, I got cut out because I said the producers were beneath contempt as human beings to the press, which isn't something you're really supposed to do.
No,
and so I only had 12 lines, and one of them was "Oh Clark," because I counted.
But I thought you didn't.
But Richard, I did a movie called Some Kind of Hero.
Yeah.
And Richard was one of the best actors I've ever worked with in my life. And I said that to him after the first week. I went, "My God, you're amazing." And he said, "Yeah, I know my craft, but nobody will let me. They just want me to be funny." And sure enough, about halfway through, the producers came up and asked him to add humor and be funny, and he was sort of heartbroken by that. Because what directors tended to do with him was they thought this stuff just automatically came out of him. Well, comedy's hard. He really worked, and when he wrote his comedy shows, it worked really, really hard. So I think he didn't have a good time on Superman 3 because that's basically what happened. They just wanted him to go out there and be funny, and he and Chris didn't get along, so that wasn't.
I always really liked Some Kind of Hero, and
thank you.
And I always thought that like some of the work you were doing together was worthy of like the Cassavetes films from the '70s. I mean, it was that honest and vulnerable, and
we were having a romance at the same time. So
Well,
that might have come across.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, no, you've got to write a book, Margot. We've got to get a petition, a combat radio petition. What's the title going to be?
I slept with everyone on television.
Wow. You know what? That's a best-selling title. I can tell you right now.